What's up, y'all? Podcast number 39 is here. Let's recap the Triller showdown with Mike versus Roy and the showdown between Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. You know the vibes.
This ain't one of them times you can slide by what you say that you gonna do. Put your money up, run that phase, I'm the show and prove. You know the vibes, partner. Ain't got no ways up in my casa. Clowning the day, gone in la mañana. I've been on fire lately. Train my spirit, mind and body daily. Victory is sweet, that's the science, baby. It's only right we represent from Tampa to Tally. And keep the pressure on these eyes, they cardio lacking. Till you flapping on the canvas and bombing and weaving. Unleashing the fury on your face while the audience screaming. Hope they got great seats or the pay-per-view. Let's get the breakdown from JD, J, and Q. You know the vibes.
Fresh off that boy Jamel Herring, shout out.
Hey, shout out to the champ.
Simplify.
What up, boxing world? It's Boxing Vibes TV. We coming back at you, giving you the best boxing analysis on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, you name it.
All of it.
Hey, so let's go ahead, man. We're going to go ahead and introduce the crew. We got JD.
Yeah, you know, I'm in the building.
Hey, we got Q.
Who the?
We got yours truly, Jay, the moderator of the madness. Now, before we get too far into it, Q, I need some energy this time. Tell them what to do.
Look, everybody, man. If y'all watching this video, man, you're watching it for a few different reasons. Whatever the reason is, what you need to do is smash the like button, man.
Do that.
So if you're being nosy, you're looking for some gospel, listen.
Do
You're looking
that.
for boxing news. Whatever you got, smash the like button. We'll deal with the rest later, man.
Dude,
Smash the like
Smash
button
it.
and share this to everybody that's spreading positivity
Do
all
that.
over the world, man. Spread it to the
Sharing
positive
is
people
caring.
That's gonna smash that like button.
Do
Anybody else, man, don't worry about it.
All right,
That's
so
what we need.
So we appreciate that, but we got a little skit or a little customary thing we do. So we're going to go ahead and kick it to JD, dog. Go ahead.
All right, as you all know, it is time for your pod quote of
Bring
the
it, bro.
day. Pod
Wait,
quote
no.
of the day is by none other than our man James Tony. And the quote goes as this.
What is it?
HBO, homeboys only. Detroit in the house.
Detroit in the house.
Already, baby.
And roll.
Already.
And roll the tape.
James, we're on
James,
TV. I know. Hi, Chris. How are you? Would you give Gira for a rematch?
Oh, no doubt. I'll fight anyway.
All right, fine. Thank you very much.
Only.
Congratulations. It's the end of the interview. Congratulations.
Detroit in the house.
Hey, Detroit in the house. Homeboys only.
Oh, man.
that boy.
You got to love James Tony.
Uh-huh.
Matter of fact, oh, man, I had a cool memory with him, man. Y'all remember when I had the face off with him?
Oh,
I had to
yeah,
stand out.
Yeah, I remember that.
Hey, it got real serious real quick.
Uh-huh.
All
Hey,
right, so
let me get to our and another special thing we have.
go ahead.
This episode is specifically sponsored by a particular company. Experience Movers, experiencemovers.org. This is for
That boy deep.
residential and commercial movings. Local, long distance, dial 850-321-5898 and ask for Darius. Experience
Any
Movers.
questions?
if you got
Comment
stuff,
or something.
they'll move it.
Hey,
Yeah, move it, man. Experientially.
All right, now that we got all the formalities out of the way, let's go ahead and get straight into topic number 1.
Uno.
All right, so it's been a minute, all right, since it happened, but we're going to go ahead and dive into Spence and Garcia. Now, everybody, oh, Spence is back. We get that. So we're going to take a little bit of different route on it. We're going to talk about Danny Garcia. Where does Danny Garcia go from here? Go ahead, JD.
Where does Danny Garcia go from here? That's an excellent question because you now have a welterweight who has losses against Errol, the True Spence, Sean Showtime Porter,
Right,
Showtime.
Keith, one-time Thurman,
right.
and anybody else?
No, it's just three.
Just three.
Yeah,
That's
it's
three.
Right.
just
So
three. Yeah,
he's
it's just
got essentially
his top tier opponents.
You
Yeah,
know, his
Top.
top tier opponents. He is taking an L to each of them. I think he continues to fight on, man. I really think that Danny still has a lot to give to the boxing game. I totally disagree with a lot of people that I've seen on the internet over the past day or two trying to downplay him as a C-level fighter. Nah, he's not that low.
Come on.
Is he a B-level fighter? Most definitely. He's
What?
not. He's not at that A echelon of Spence and in the top elite. But I think he continues to fight, man. I don't want to see him retire. I still would like to see him in a few good fights. So I gotta say, man, that I would like to see him keep moving on, man. But where you at with it, Q?
I mean, same thing, brother. Same thing. I mean, he was severely mismatched, man. Listen, I mean, it was a great fight going into it, but Errol Spence is Errol Spence is as advertised, man. He's all the way the truth, man. You can take the asterisk from out of his name as far as what we're thinking about with the car accident. Everybody's waiting to see it. And boy, did you see it? Did you see it? Like Errol Spence is as he's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? As I would hope for him to be. But like I say, Danny Garcia he was a mismatch. It wasn't too much he could have done, man. I mean, you would have had to give him a gun. In my opinion, you know? he was outmatched. You feel me? And I feel bad for Angel Garcia, his father. You know, that's one of my favorite father-son combos. And you could just hear the sincerity and the hurt in the corner, man. And you know, it really like one thing he kept saying. He kept telling Danny not to back up. You can't just back up from southpaw to hitting with the jab. You can't just back up. He was telling the side step to not just back straight up. But when you in that fire, man, muscle memory, bro. You're gonna do whatever you. I mean, it's easy to say that when you ain't the one get hit with them jab to the stomach, jab to the head.
Right.
Man, Spence was, man. He was automatic out there. It was automatic. It wasn't even he was ready.
And the thing is too, man, is that Danny also, you know, kept it 100. He kept it 100 in his interview after the fight, and he said that he felt like the jab was the X factor. He said that ultimately, you know, he really could not get past Spence's jab, you know, and it did serious damage. So I salute him for keeping it real,
definitely.
You know, not making any excuses.
And one more thing, I feel like you know, I think Danny was trying to tell him, you know, be first and be more aggressive, and you know, that the fight would have just ended a lot earlier. I mean, because that's not him. He stuck to what he do. You know,
he's a counter puncher.
He's a counter puncher, and him trying to be the aggressor against Spence, man, it wouldn't work because Spence could box. Right. I mean, he could mix it. He could brawl, box. He could do whatever you want to do. And I just feel like you'd have just been a lot more open, and you'd have been blindsided by something that probably would have put you to sleep. You know, but shout to the Garcias, man. You know what I'm saying?
Most
I love
definitely.
the Garcias, and I do want to see them continue to move forward, man. Y'all are great for boxing, and I mean, y'all don't got nothing to hold your head down about, man. You know, y'all got fans.
Let me interject with something. All right, so close fight against Thurman. A little bit more definitive loss against Porter. All right, and then, you know, of course, this was definitely a more dominant performance by Spence.
Sure.
I don't see him as a B fighter. I see him. He's not an A+ fighter, but he's definitely an A fighter. He definitely provided some moments in that fight where people saw something they liked, a la Manny Pacquiao. We saw Crawford over there, you know, shadow boxing, saying he saw openings. One of the things I've religiously said about Danny Garcia, I love Danny Garcia, man, as a fighter. He's very consistent. But what dooms a lot of fighters, and we saw this with Dubois, is lack of head movement. That's why the jab's trouble, because you don't have that head movement. And just like with Canelo had that problem with the jab, and he's always had that problem with jab, he developed very good head movement. And I think that was really what was the difference between Danny being that A+ fighter, because he's not aggressive like a Sean Porter to overwhelm you with his power and his accumulation of punches. He's more so of a tactician. And when you're a tactician and you're a little bit more stationary, you gotta move your head. Now,
hold on. I got a quick question to you though, bro. If you say Danny, I mean, since we just hypothetically, you know, giving grades, if you have Danny as not a B fighter, I'm interested to see how do you grade Sean Porter. If you say Danny is A minus,
I think they're all. I think they're all in the same category. There's only two A+ fighters in the welterweight division to me, and that is Errol Spence and Bud Crawford.
So you feel like if Danny and Sean fought again, you feel like it'd be 50-50?
Yeah, it may have a different. So I'm going to say this. I think in a rematch, Garcia beats Thurman. Right.
Okay.
If you look at that fight, Thurman was fading. And I think Garcia learned a lot from that fight. Porter's difficult for a guy that doesn't throw a lot of punches in Danny. I think at any point in time, you know, Danny could really start landing one of those counter punches and change the fight, right? So I think part of it is experience. Part of it is Danny wasn't, he had the wrong game plan when he fought Porter, in my opinion. You don't sit back on Porter. And I think you can train to be more aggressive, but at the same point in time, I don't think being more aggressive would have worked against an Errol Spence. So I think he has the – okay, so look at Amir Khan, right? Amir Khan didn't have the chin or the discipline. I don't think that's Danny's problem. So I like him in fights against other A fighters. The top tier A+ fighters, of course, you're going to see some, definitely a difference in performance and capabilities. But I see him as an A fighter, and I would like to see him in a matchup against Thurman again. I would like to see him, of course he's going to fight on it. He's young enough, and he puts on a good enough performance. Because the thing about it was, we all knew he was overmatched if Spence was going to be the Spence of old, but he put on a hell of a performance to be overmatched. He was looking to win the fight every round of the fight. He was always seemed dangerous. Spence did push him back, but at every point in the fight, he seemed dangerous because he was trying to land a big punch. You could tell he was still trying to win the fight as opposed to being
Just
beaten.
Wilson.
Beaten submission.
Yeah, like you say, it's not about sometimes you losing. It's also how you lose.
Exactly.
And,
exactly.
And after what we saw, people would definitely want to see Danny G again.
So
now, real quick, who did you say? You say who was fading in the fight against Danny Garcia?
That Thurman fight. Thurman was definitely fading. Thurman came out like a house of fire, man. He jumped on him, and I really thought, I was like, man, if he keep landing like this, he gonna get Garcia out of there. Garcia got a granite chin, and he stays calm like a prize fighter. That's what I really like about Danny, and that's why I always want to watch him fight. So speaking of always wanting to watch somebody fight, there were some old heads that fought, and everybody's did their little take on it, but we're gonna take a little different angle on it. Triller put on a production with Roy Jones Jr. and none other than Iron Mike Tyson. Now everybody knows it, they fought to a draw, and everybody's thinking, saying Mike Tyson won it. But I got a bigger question about the production, the Triller production. Was that good for boxing? Do you like, the concerts, the presentation, the commentary? You had Snoop, you had a UFC fighter. I think it was a pro wrestling announcer as well.
Right.
Like, you had real color commentary, and then you had Sugar Ray Leonard. Is that production, that presentation good for boxing? Go ahead, Q.
I love it. And the reason why I love it because it's an exhibition. It's not boxing. You know what I'm saying? It's an exhibition of boxing, but it's not the the traditional boxing. So I don't want to see tradition on that level. Once I'm here to be entertained. You're already saying you're not going out to winner. Which they really didn't. But either way it go, you have limited things that you could do within an exhibition. So number one thing you need to do is entertain. And I was thoroughly entertained by it. I loved it. The only thing I didn't like about it, just me as a boxing fan, I didn't like that a YouTube, whatever you call it, man.
A YouTuber?
Well, I mean, nothing against him because he do have a fighting background, which I found a lot more about, which I would have, anyways, that he stole the show. And you know what I'm saying? I hate the Nate Robinson legacy. Not that he's a fighter or anything, but it's just like everybody look at Nate Robinson.
It'll never be forgotten.
Right now.
Never be forgotten.
Everybody was picking the athlete, and you was like, man, I'm gonna go with Nate because he's an athlete. I said, Bob ain't no fighter though.
Right. I didn't do my homework, bro. I didn't do my homework on the Paul family.
So you love the presentation, right? You love all that.
I dig it. I like it, man. I mean, it could be better now. Don't get me wrong, but that's something to build on.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But the formula, I like the formula, man. I mean, I'm good with it.
Go ahead.
And they did numbers. For what I did.
Oh, how many buys? How many?
Over a million.
Over a million, man.
Might have been like 1.6, somewhere up there, man.
That part.
Okay. Go ahead, JD.
Man, I gotta shit. I hate to hit y'all with another quote, man. I love the production because it harkens me back to the infamous quote of everybody who's watched the movie Gladiator from Russell Crowe.
Go ahead with it.
Well, he says, "Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?" I love it because ultimately, man, this is entertainment. While it is prize fighting, we saw a few real fights, and then the last one was an exhibition. I think it brought a level of entertainment that we have honestly not seen infused in boxing in a long time. I'd be fronting if I said I ain't like seeing Uncle Snoop get down. But, before the main event. I think ultimately at the end of the day, this is, and Mike Tyson actually brought up an interesting point in his post-fight interview. They started to ask Mike about the production, sort of like we're talking about it right now. And Mike said, check it out. The difference between this production is there was no promoter a part of this. He said straight up, there was no promoter a part of this. We all got together. We talked to each other, one-on-one, and we hashed it out and we made it happen. I didn't have to go through all of a bunch of politics, asking, could I have this person come? Could I have this person perform? Nah, everybody signed up, got their guarantee, and bam, it happened. And so I think if boxing can just get more of that model, you can't help but get nice, entertaining fights and events. So I'm all on board, man. I hope to see Triller do more, especially like y'all just alluded to. It did over 1 million buys. So fresh out the gate, man, they got a bankroll to deal with. So hopefully Triller doesn't blow it and they're able to really put on some more good cards.
Usually I keep the conversation going by asking a question, but I want to jump in on this. Just because I'm gonna take it a little different direction, probably a more serious direction, right? So it was entertaining. So we're doing this podcast, right? We part of it is our passion. We're trying to be ambassadors for the sport, right? We care about the sport. We care about the health of the sport. We love boxing. So one thing about boxing is steeped in tradition, right? Whether it's you go back to the 40s and 50s or the Jack Johnson days, it's always been a pivotal part of history. You go back in important moments in boxing, in history, particularly U.S. history, boxing is there, right? And so I think boxing got stuck in a rut, right? And they forgot to be entertaining because fighting is a mixed bag anyway, right? How many times have people tuned into a Mike Tyson fight? You pay $50 back in 1995,
and it's
boom,
over like
and it's over like that, So part of what I think really boxing needs to capitalize on is embrace tradition, but try to bring itself on up to the millennials,
right?
Because the name of the game is entertainment, right? The act itself is entertaining. Fighting is entertaining. But how many times have we been sitting around? And I will say this, especially a lot of Manny Pacquiao cards, Top Rank was guilty of this, putting on fights we didn't want to see, and we're just sitting there waiting on the main event with not a lot of entertainment going on. I'm talking about visually. The set, it looked awesome.
Right.
I mean, sometimes we see it with the O2 Arena, especially overseas. They put a lot in their production, and here you see fighters come out through their walkouts, and you see you're happy with the way they pay for their own production and put who they come out with, a rap or anything. But the overall look and feel of it, I felt like I was at an event. I felt like I was at a special place, the lights or whatever. And then I'm not really against the Paul brothers getting into it just because that the traditional part is, okay, only fighters, only this. But you got to capitalize on that UFC crowd, right? And they're focused on entertainment. UFC's not against boxing, but a lot of times there's overlap. They'll watch both, but a lot of the knock on boxing is it's a bit boring, and I don't think it's to do necessarily with the fights. Because sometimes we've all watched UFC. Sometimes their fights are boring, but a lot of times it's the production and the rollout, right? And I think if they can really capitalize what Triller, I don't think it just needs to be exhibitions. Now I don't want to see 50,000 concerts. I don't. I think a performance here and there, but they actually, I think, produced a model for boxing that it will elevate the sport into being more popular amongst younger people if you can keep production like that. Right. And that's what boxing's forgot about. They're so steeped in tradition, they forgot the future is to get the younger crowd involved. And so I'm speaking on it because I'm hyped about it, and I loved it.
And it's interesting, man, because what we saw a boxing event with kind of like a WWE backdrop.
Right.
Like we're almost like, from the entrances and, all those type of entertainment parts infused in it. And I will say, I do think that the pandemic also has shifted everybody's mind from giving a more entertaining visual. Because I even think about when we look at the Top Rank bubble, right? And we all talked about how Bud came out to was it Shaka Khan? You know what I mean? And if you even think about just the layout, if you all think about some of the bubble fights, just the monitors and the backdrop, and not to switch lanes, but just for a quick second, y'all remember the NBA bubble.
Right.
There was no fans, and people can remember how it looked like it was a video game.
It made you get more innovative.
Right. And so, the pandemic and not having fans, I do think has pushed the envelope and probably pushed us in America, Jay, I think you mentioned this, more up to what we've kind of already saw overseas across the pond.
Right.
They were already kind of, making things a little bit more lavish, giving a little bit more entertainment value. The ring walks were more entertaining.
Right.
And I think now America is kind of up to that standard of trying to give everybody a little bit more entertainment.
And they're definitely going to they need to capitalize on it. If boxing's smart, and I know that they're slow to progress. Just like UFC really brought their women along, we are lagging with that. So I'm excited about it. I hope big fights take their cues from that and really, really start to improve the production, because I think it can bring a bigger crowd and bring more interest to the sport. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is the greatest sport on earth. So,
and most definitely, the hip hop culture, man, that's the future. You know what I'm saying? And that's the number one catalyst. That's the number one catalyst, man. They selling anything you name. You see commercials for. They could be talking about anything, man, and you hear hip hop music playing in the background on CNN or whatever channel on any platform. Period.
Facts. That's facts.
To
your point, right quick, Q. Man, how about I heard the other day, man, they did a Travis Scott burger at McDonald's, bro.
Yeah, they
sold out, bro. Sold out, man.
You late, bro. That shit been like my kid told me about that like 3 months ago.
They had.
He got his own combo.
Yeah, it's just the same old stuff you can get at McDonald's, but it's sold out though.
It's sold out.
We all out.
To your point, Q, of hip hop culture.
Yeah, but and that's what really boxing needs to focus on. Holding on to that tradition, but able to grab a new crowd. I think baseball's struggling with that. There's a lot of sports doing that. But go ahead, Q.
We're gonna speak on something else a little later about that. I got an elevator story concerning all the same catalyst we're talking about with Travis Scott. We'll talk about it on the after hours.
Okay. All right. So this brings us to the next portion of the show. So we're gonna try to get quick answers. Q don't follow the rules, man. Q do his own thing. He the superstar. So he feel like you know what I'm saying. Stop that. He's like, get your popcorn. Show ready. You know what I'm saying.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
So all right. So we're gonna jump into connector with, right? So first one, all right, and this happened a while back, but we like to give everybody they shine, they love, they critiques and compliments and criticism. Daniel Jacobs versus Gabriel Rosado. Daniel Jacobs' performance was a sign of decline. Connector with. Go ahead, JD.
CONNECT. I gotta connect on that, man. Listen, straight up, I told y'all when we talked about this before this happened, man. Ever since we were in Las Vegas and we were there as Danny J was supposed to fight Canelo Alvarez, and he threw up that dud of a performance, I said from that day on, I do not trust Danny J until he shows me something a little bit different. Now, Danny J did part from Andre Rozier, all right? So he did have a totally new trainer. But I really did not trust him going into this Gabriel Rosado fight. A lot of people sat there and thought that it would be a blowout, and sure enough, it wasn't. It ended up being a close fight.
So sign of decline, connect for JD. What you got, Q?
So I'm not gonna say it's a connect. I'm gonna say a whiff, just because it's more. With Danny Jacobs, what I don't notice with Danny Jacobs, he do his best when he not the best boxer, you know what I'm saying? But he's a hell of a fighter. Right. And when he want and once he clicked that, once that button switch when he want to fight, you got problems. Right. But when he wanna box and just be clean and just be technical, man, where he not just gonna mix it up and get on you and push you around and use his size, you know what I'm saying? That's part of the thing with Canelo. Like he sucked, man. He not like, bro. You need to get out there and brawl and use your advantages. You know what I'm saying? That's when you use your best.
He didn't start doing that to the.
Cause he's a dog. He's a dog, and you ain't letting that dog out, man. I mean, ain't
pause. I can't. Dog. Nah, he ain't no dog. And the only reason why I'm gonna say he's not a dog right now is because after the fight. Go ahead.
Go.
No, I'm saying because after the fight, he was the only fighter that sat there and blamed his performance on no fans.
And on that note, and on that note, we're gonna jump into the second one. All right, so
that's funny. He did that.
He did.
You're making me look bad, man. so now I gotta blame it on Angela Simmons.
all right.
Hey, the tasty pastry.
All right. So
I'm not mad at you, but you know.
Yeah.
So we gonna move into the second connector whip, right? So we've always wondered about how these guys come over with names, Usyk, and already come up with all this pub. You know, they're Olympic champions, but they come over getting title shots.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing our research, doing our homework about an international boxing league. It's been different iterations of it. What it basically is guys can fight pro fights against top elite international competition without affecting their pro record. It's called the WSBs, I guess, World Series of Boxing. Is the WSB good for boxing? Go ahead, Q.
Okay, so you know, I'd probably say it's probably good for boxing. It's something else to watch and something to check out. Because I'm excited to look at it because it's fairly new to me. We got into this when we started talking about all of the amateur backgrounds and the fighters, how they come in with all this great prestige from an amateur. So we looked at it a little deeper and found this out. But I don't really think I think it's great it's good. It could be good for boxing, but I don't think it's great for the boxers because they got to go through too much and go through too many, like you got fight over 300-400 fights. That's wear and tear on their body. That's their shelf life. A boxer is like a running back. You know what I'm saying?
So
you know, running back. Yeah, I mean, what the connect? It was.
Is the WSB good for boxing? You said connect?
I think it's good for boxing, but you know, it could be bad for the boxers. Connect.
Okay.
For boxing.
I'm gonna go with a whiff, man, and the reason why I'm gonna go with a whiff is because I think that in boxing we put too much on the undefeated O, and I think the undefeated O is the primary catalyst as to why a league like that could exist, because everybody wants to get in there against top competition, but everybody's scared,
put their record on the line.
Exactly. Nobody wants to take that O. And so ultimately, why not get paid? Again, to your point, Q, I agree. It's wear and tear. It's wear and tear on the body. So why be sitting there for? Because see, my thing
that's the other thing to interrupt you real quick because we gotta move along. I think there's some form of payment that the team gets paid, or it's something like that. I don't know.
I mean, it's got to be something because ultimately, I wouldn't be in agreement of people. If anything, I feel like there should be maybe a match limit.
Okay.
I don't think somebody should be fighting 30, 40 fights and not getting paid just to try to protect the O and get experience.
Okay, so that's a whiff.
Yeah.
Brings us to our last one. I will say this: I think there's some form of team payment. I'm not sure, but got to do a little bit more research on that. Errol Spence, connected with Errol Spence, will fight Canelo by the end of 2021. Connected with. Go ahead, JD.
Whiff, man. It is not happening. I'm going to tell y'all right now, right quickly, what I predict will happen. I predict that at this moment, we will possibly see either Errol Spence versus Pac-Man. If we don't see Errol Spence versus Pac-Man, we will finally see Errol Spence versus Thurman. I then think that it does not make any sense for the whole Bud versus Spence fight to go down until Bud gets out of that top-ranked contract. So we do not see that fight anytime soon until by the end of 2021. And then I also think that he's not going to go up until he fights Bud. So I don't think that's till 2022, in my opinion.
Okay. Q, connect the with 2021 Spencer Canelo.
I agree 100% with what my man said, but you know, I was taken aback by him just saying that the man had to leave top rank. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a little throw by that. You know what I'm saying? That was Bob Aaron's biggest fan a couple weeks ago.
Man, what you talking about, bro?
My bad, bro. My bad.
Hey, listen, man.
I think it's the headphones that make the headphones make me think out loud.
All right, so that's, you got a whiff? All right, so I'm gonna put my 2 cents in there. So before we wrap up, it's a we can't even do a. I'm a cheat. It's a soft connect. Only reason I say that is because
soft connect.
Only reason because it's been about 4 years since I seen this video. Mayweather was talking about the next super fight is really going to be Spence and then I think it was Bud saying that the fight might not even happen because he might move up, or I think maybe it was Spence. And I think there was some on the internet, calling for it, and I think Canelo even responded to it. Spence is a naturally bigger welterweight. He hasn't fought and carried the weight like Canelo has, but naturally he's a bigger man. If they're both welterweights, he's just naturally be the bigger man. So I say it's a possibility. I'm not gonna cheat like that. It's a whiff.
Yeah, it's a whiff. It's not happening.
It's a whiff.
Not next year. I don't think next year.
They're gonna wait to put a little bit more season on.
Right? Yeah.
So, but
he'll be doing himself the biggest disservice in a way to leave welterweight division without fighting number one pound for pound.
Most definitely. That's true. That we got.
I know everybody gave. I know everybody gave Manny Pacquiao flack, but let's not forget Canelo is the catchweight king. If he ain't the king, he the prince.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just saying it's a possibility. I wouldn't be. I'll say this. I'll call it a whiff just to be fair about how this portion is called. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see it in 2021 at the end of 2021.
Yeah. It'll look like
another reason why I don't see it is because I think Errol's 30, 31? 30?
They're both 30, yeah.
Yeah, 30. So they're both 30 years old, man. So they're both probably still right in their prime for another couple of years.
So you say it ain't the right time?
Yeah, it's not the right time.
It ain't the right time.
It's not the right time.
But it's the right time to end this show, man. Mm-hmm. Hopefully y'all love us like we love y'all.
Uh-huh.
This is Boxing Vibes TV, man. We coming at you, man.
Out.
Check us out on Spotify,
Stitcher,
iTunes,
Red Circle,
you name it.
Audible.
We out.
All streaming platforms. Boxing Vibes TV.
For y'all late bloomers that ain't smacked that like button, go and do that real quick.
Uh-huh.
Do that.
Like. And we out.